Okay, let's get started. Is the mic on? Okay. Today we're going to get into the fractional factorial design. But before I get into that, I want to go through the lecture notes. Got a few things I want to... Okay, you guys already done the, how to calculate A effect, B effect, using the Excel. And one thing also I would like you to know is that since we're using those contrast, crossing, so you actually can use those parameter. The intercept is the intercept we get, and then how to move from one side of the wall to the other side of the wall is this negative 75, the parameter. But remember, the parameter need to divide it by 2. Why? Because you're moving from the negative side to the positive side. And usually the regression becomes much, much shorter. Why? Because some of the effects, they are not significant. Then if they're not significant, we ignore it. And also, when I talk about it on Monday, I also talk about this, is that those effects, if we ignore, we actually can use them as the plus epsilon, the error term we need. Okay? So that's the things that kind of you already got it, but you need to keep that in mind. Like I said, a lot of time the mechanics takes time to build it up. The Excel file takes time. Later, the SAS takes time. One plug, you will get something. But those are mechanics, just your toolbox. What's more important is the logics, the thinking, why we're doing all this. Okay, and if you don't know follow the logics, okay, garbage in, garbage out, and who cares, right? And the other thing is that on the effect and the sum of square, for a 2 factorial part, 2 to the 2, 2 to the 3, 2 to the a, 2 to whatever, okay? And the relationship you can algebraically express by this. So the contrast turn into the effect, and the sum of square is based on the contrast too, okay? And the Excel actually done that for you, but algebraically, this is the things behind it, okay? And the response surface part, we're not there yet, so I prefer not to emphasize too much. And one way you can think, oh, by the way, I think SAS is available in this room in 154. But for those who wants to download SAS, just go to SAS.com, okay? And you guys know SAS, right? Never heard before? It's a statistical analytical company. The headquarters is in Cary. I think it's Fortune 500 company, or it's one of the big data mining, machine learning company. And I like to use SAS because, it's convenient. A few simple commands, you'll get something. But I would also say that SAS is free, so you can download and use it. And for some of you, thinking about your future, about your jobs, okay, using Python to drive R and do simulation using SAS for a lot of packaging evaluation, those things should be in your resume. Okay, so don't say that why learn so many language? And you ask me why, because I don't know what kind of company you're going to work for. And when I worked for Liberty Mutual, my previous jobs, we don't hire people without SAS background. Okay, And some people in the old days talk about C++. Now Python seems pretty friendly. It's not as effective, but I still think that if you know Python enough, it's not too hard. If you work for a company that use C++, you should be able to pick up the grammar really quick. Okay, and anyway, we will use SAS. Okay, and the good thing is that once we have all the Excel developed and you fully understand the mechanics, then when I use SAS, you will say, "Whoa, it's only 1 or 2 lines. You get everything." And why I torture you was the Excel, because you get 4 sense of security if you don't really learn how to do it. It's 1 or 2 command, you get a lot of stuff, and when you got a lot of stuff, you don't know where it's coming from. It looks nice with a bunch of pictures. It's almost like you guys go out for job fair or job interview. You put your 3-piece suit down, put your ties on, and then you believe that you really know something. And that's as scary as just showing the SAS pictures. It's just appearance. I fake it, you fake it, and then sooner or later, people will point at you and say the emperor has no clothes. So it's important, okay, to first learn how to do it and then visualize it. Then SAS is very convenient. Okay, take time to download SAS. So if you want to go, and I think Mosaic VPN, they also have SAS on it. So if you want to use the VPN, that's fine too. Okay, and one way to think about response surface is later on you can think about it. It's almost like you're doing a square dance, on different parameter. And when you do the square dance, some direction will reach smaller and smaller values. Some direction will reach bigger and bigger value. So you basically said, okay, should I move left or should I move right? How much left, how much right in order to find the optimal? Okay? And how do we get that? The location is based on the central station's argument, but the slope, how far, is based on the regression. So really, those 2 things are hidden in the response surface analysis, okay? And right now, you just believe me that everything we cover will be used or abused at the end. But we're not completely having all the toolbox ready. And the other thing is that for 3 dimension, it's not hard to talk about, A low, A high, B low, B high, C low, C high. And then with the A parameter, the contrast. The problem is that when you have more than 3 factor, okay, it's getting harder and harder to visualize. And how are we going to do that? Okay, and maybe I should stop here. And how we're going to do that? We're going to use a kind of fractional way to look at it. The other way we can think about it is like thinking about, I'm having a bunch of factor, right? You can see that, right? So if I have A factor, B factor, C factor, and D factor, you know what? I'm just do it for fun. So I have E factor. So now 2 to the 5, right? And 2 to the 5, so totally how many components are we going to have? Huh?
64.
Huh? 2 to the 5.
Sorry.
2 to the 5? 32, right? So one way, I'm going to just do it for fun. Positive. Okay. And then negative. Positive. Well, I start from negative. I'll do positive. Okay. And then what you do is you say that, let me start from here to 20, should be 25. Yeah. So if I do that, right, I should have, oh, I got more than I need. Should be start from 9, right? Oh, I start from 9. And end up at 20. Yeah, it should be 25. Oh, come on. Okay, we'll see. Huh? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Too much. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I have a negative 1?
Yeah, if you start from there, then you'll have 8 negative 1.
Start from 10, I'll have a negative 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I got it wrong. All right. So now I have this, right? And then what will be the next one? 4, 4, right? So I just do 4, 4. Okay? So we're just having this hypercube in our head, but it's hard to draw that hypercube since we don't have the that many dimensions. Okay? And then of course the last one will be positive 1, negative 1, as it is, right? Agree? So, of course, based on this, I can have the first observation is negative 1, the last observation will be A, B, C, D, E. Everything exists. Agree? You guys remember this coding rule for every observation? Baseline is Excel, if you put just parentheses, it'll turn it into negative. Okay, and then of course, for example, if, okay, why I do it again? I turn it into text. Here we go. Okay, so for example, what will be the code for this one? What will be the code for that observation?
It looks like your A column is incorrect.
Huh?
It looks like you have negative, negative, positive, positive instead of negative, positive, negative.
Oh, I got it wrong, huh? Good job. Control C. Okay. Yeah. One way to double check is what? Do a sum. The sum should equal to what? 0, right? So they are, and then of course, if you use some product of any two of them, you should have, okay? And so let's just do some coding here. Just randomly pick one. Okay, what will be the code for this observation? Huh? The one I highlight? That will be what? E effect is not there, right? But A, B, C, D is there, right? So this one should be A, B, C, D, right? No E. Okay, and let's try another one. Pick one here. What will be the effect of this one?
A, B, C, E.
A, B, C, E, yeah. Okay, so basically we know that I can have an experimental design based on a set of coding system, even though we have a graphic cube in mind, except it's a hypercube. We cannot do. However, okay, here's the key things. Okay, how many observations I have here? 32, right? And your boss said that, you know what? We know A effect. Or we done A effect negative part before. Just do the positive part this time. So we block the A effect. So one way to do that is you just do this, right? Data sort. Okay? And said I'm going to sort A effect. Okay? And so once you sort the A effect, what will happen here is that, oops, what happened? Let me get rid of this. So move somewhere else. Okay? So if I just sort by A, okay? Then can I say that, hey, I can just do the positive side one time because I don't have money, and then I'll do the negative side, and then turn them into two blocks? What will be the problem of doing that? So I'm just saying that you guys see what I just did, right? I sorted A block and B block. And then I said, oh, let me do the negative A first and then do the positive A. What is the problem of doing that? If I do the sum of square computations, okay, I see this block and this blocks, they're different. Okay, and then say they're significant. Okay? How do you know that difference is because of the A positive and A negative? Or is it because of day 1 and day 2, block 1 and block 2? You guys follow me? I run the experiment in 2 different months. I run the experiment in 2 different years. I run the experiment in 2 different classrooms. I call this classroom block 1 and this room block 2. What is the problem of doing that? Is now, if there is an effect, if there's a contrast, significant, could be due to A, could be due to the blocking, right? So I'm in trouble. Then let's just say that, hey, so don't do that. How about let's say that, let me block C, using C positive and C negative. Can I do that? Just data sort and said that, okay, we're going to run the experiment based on C block. Okay, now there are C positive and C negative. I'm facing the same issues again, right? Is it because of the blocking or is it because of something else? So, people say that, well, can you use something else to do the blocking or contrast? So, one thing people have in mind is this, right? For example, can I come up with the A, B, C, D, E effect and then say that that's a very, very high level 5-way interactions? I have no clue what it means, even you tell me that's significant. And usually, high level interaction is not that significant because just too many things going on at the same time. So, first of all, how to generate the ABCDE effect is equal to the product of these 5 things, right? So if I have just 5 things generated, this is my ABCDE effect. And what will be this ABCDE gonna be totally look like? What will be the sum of the possibility? Now, this corner, that corner, adding all together should be what? If I sum all of this together, what will be the value? Huh? Still 0, right? Okay, so if 0, then I say that, okay, let me play with using A, B, C, D, E to separate the experiment. So I'll do a sort and said that, okay, let me use A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so now there are some A and B and C and D I'm using in the block 1 and some using in the block 2. And what's the benefit of doing this is I'm using something I probably can ignore, or I don't know how to explain, or it's just, most likely in that smiley phase or in that computation is very, very much at the end. So the likelihood to use up a lot of sum of squares is not high, and is only, what about the degrees of freedom? Still using 1 degrees of freedom. So I can say that, hey, let me just use that one to separate block 1 and block 2. And if I do that, I can have the block 1 and block 2 still doing the computation, or later on, okay, we will be even cheaper than doing that is what? We're going to say that we only run half of the experiment, only run the first half, first block, or run the second block. This is, there's a name for it. It's called fractional factorial design. Because what we did before is factorial design. So term for you to Google, first things to Google or for Wikipedia is figure out what is called fractional factorial design. And the second thing that I want you guys to also Google, the term is called confounding. Confounding means there are two things that are confounded together and I cannot separate the two. For example, right now the blocking effect of first block and second block is confounded with a high-level 5-way interaction term. So if the contrast showing that this and this is significant or there's something going on, I don't have the ability to tell, is it because of the blocking effect or is it because of the A, B, C, D high-level interactions? Okay? So, for example, what will be the typical example today for the COVID era? Okay, let's just say that, say BNT or Moderna, one of the companies say, hey, we'll come up with the third shot or the fourth shot formula. It's very, very powerful. When we have one versions using, the old formula, one using the new formula. So we're going to have the old formula and this new formula tested. And then when we test this, we say that, that when we're doing the testing, we're going to use Carolina as our examples. Okay? And then we're going to use East Carolina for the old formula, West Carolina using the new formula. Okay? And then when you done the experiment, you check the immunity effect. You know what? There's a significant difference between the two groups. One got more immunity than the other groups. So, Yahoo, you tell your boss your formula works. You find a significant difference. Can you do that? Can you? Why not? Because the differences could be due to the two formula differences, but also could be due to the East Carolina versus the West Carolina, right? one side eating the barbecue with the vinegar, the other side eating the barbecue with the ketchup, right? How did you know it's not the difference because of the barbecue sauce? It's because of the one against the other. So that's the reason why whenever we're trying to use the blocking effect or trying to say that we're going to take care of the confounding, we want to move the confounding to the high-level effect, or we want to move it to the high-level interactions. We want to stay on the other side. Okay? Here comes another one. Okay? How many of you think that if I run the experiment, 16 treatments as a blocks is good? Right? 16 is good. But what if this is a very, very expensive experiment? Every run costs $1 million. Okay? So you probably need to say that, you know what, I cannot run them in 2 fractions. I need to run them in, say, 4 fractions. So one way to do that is what? And saying that, oh, let me run 2 fractions, and there are 2 things I don't really care. Okay? What are the 2 things I don't really care? One is the ABCD interaction. One is the BCDE interactions. Can I do that? If I do that, okay, then you basically said that, hey, let me run this. You guys see where I'm going? If I'm using one effect to separate the 2 blocks, they'll break them into 2, right? Using another one, it will break them into another fraction of 2. So now is 1 cut, 2 cut. You separate a pie into 4 pieces. You follow me? Then if you do that, then now you can do the fraction not by 2, but by 4. Okay, so you do a product of this guy. Product of, no. Product of G. Okay, and then I will have this one is the product of BCDE. And then when I finish this, okay, what can I do? Rather than sorting them by 1 block, also I say that, hey, sort them by 2 block. So data sort. Okay. Sort by BCDE and add another level, sort by BCDE. And then once you do that, okay, you have the negative 1 is your block 1. And then you have your negative, positive, or positive, negative, and start from here. This is your block 3. Now you separate the experiment into 4 blocks. Okay? So in the next 2 lectures, we'll basically try to deal with the things. We're still talking about there are cube or cube within the cube, and then there are so many cubes and hard to visualize. And then we also run into the problem of there's not enough money, there's not enough time, there's not enough brain power to explain. what are the high-level interactions. So let's find a way to deal with these messy problems. And how we're going to deal with it? Divide and conquer. Things is too big, how you deal with it? Separate, separate, separate. Right? And then so you can, figure a way to say, hey, let me do one block at a time. At least I find something I would like to explain. Okay? Yeah. How many of you like writing? Novel, poetics, whatever. How many of you like writing? Okay? And how do you write? You're brainstorming and you write. What other approach? Writing? Huh?
Like typing or pen and pencil?
No. I'm talking about how, say you want to argue something, right? Constitution, gun control, free speech, whatever. Okay? You have some points you want to make. Usually how you write it. Well, we can go non-political route, right? The black hole or the speed of light, whatever you try to talk about. Right? What class got a lot of writing homework? Dr. Gary Thames? Yeah? And probably Dr. Tangas? Also comes? More computational? Okay. Yeah. Probably Dr. Shirali's.
Dr. Shkreli is mostly computational as well, but Tang for sure is
Okay.
a lot of writing.
Yeah. So when you write, how you write?
You write a thesis statement?
No, what I'm saying is, of course, you need to have some logics, right? The logic is simple, right? The ground is wet, some effect, could be due to rain, could be due to sprinkler, but I know that right now the condition, the context is cloudy, so more likely due to rain, not due to sprinkler. So you have a set of logics, and then you need to find the evidence to show that the rain can cause the ground wet, the sprinkler can cause the ground. So you collect all the evidence and then you organize them, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that when you write, the number one thing is first, I'll use a different analogy. How many of you like to play with Lego blocks? Okay? And have you, of course, right now the expensive Star Wars versions is out of our price range. But when you were kids, when you build Lego, okay, how you do that?
Follow the instruction booklet. You do that more so now.
No, I'm saying creativity. So when you try to build something, you build them block by block, right? You build them module by module and then gradually piece them together, right? Right? And so for me, experimental design is your writing, is your Lego block hidden. Okay? You have a very, very large investigation, and then everybody's kind of like, oh my God, how am I going to start this? This is a monster. The first things first is, hey, guess when I work for industry, when my boss says we need to do this, guess what's my first questions? Usually when my boss says, Simon, it's your baby. My first question usually is, when is the due date? Because if I know the due, what's the most important thing about a project? Huh? Yeah, get it done. If you cannot get your project done, you'll get your pink slip for Christmas. Right? And then second thing you ask, how much budget? And then you start thinking, okay, how much manpower, how much resources I can manipulate? And then you start doing your divide and conquer. Right? So, even though I'm talking about statistics, but I'm talking about using statistics to investigate something useful, right? Something could be good for the ground to get wet, or something can make the profit high, something can make the cost low, something can make the manpower more effective, something can make the your boss nagging reduced. And whatever that's something, okay, you need to come up with a table like this. And then when you come up with a table like this, now we're talking about two contrasts. Later I'll talk about three, okay? Then we'll have positive 1, negative 1, 0 again, okay? And then whenever you have everything like that, there is a fundamental argument, is that so many things need to be investigated. Let's find a way to say that how big is the scope? And if the scope is way too big, then I need to divide and conquer. And say that I'm going to write this paper in one shot. It's mission impossible. I'll write this paper by saying that, okay, how many blocks can I build? Lego block 1, talk about the sprinkler. Lego block 2, talk about the ground's wet. Lego block 3, talk about something, and then gradually put everything together, okay? And so, by saying that, I hope you understand that even though we're just talking about a bunch of negative 1 and positive 1, but this is a very convenient tools, okay? We don't have any Chinese descent this year. Okay, how many of you ever heard yin and yang expression? Yeah? How many of you ever heard Tai Chi? And what's the Tai Chi yin and yang? It's basically believed that everything in this world is based on the, two different forces, right? The positive and the negative. And then how those things generate from 2 to 4, from 4 to 6, So actually, let me see if I can find one just for entertainment, okay? Tai Chi, I Ching. Okay, I just want to show you the picture. Okay? Originally, it just says that, positive, negative. So people look at here. Okay? The heaven is 3 straight bar. The ground is 3 broken bar. Can you tell? And then, so they have different meaning. And then gradually they will convert those into more complex version. And, I'm not promoting any Chinese philosophy here. I just want you to see that how they see the world. Experimental design, positive, negative, plus, plus, minus, minus, and how the computer simulation is done. Binary code, same thing. Okay? And so, if you can you can put a lot of mysterious explanations on a lot of stuff, but the fundamental at the end, positive, negative, and you organize them together, you get your paper done. Okay? Okay. Too much yada yada. We stop here. Let's go for the next one. Okay? So I give you a couple examples here. And here, let me just download them one by one. Okay, and this is more for your reading, so you know how to write your paper. So here is a 3 factorial design experiment, and positive, negative, 2 repetitions like our example, how the computation is done, how they generate a sum of square. This is exactly what I did for the Excel and how I turned the effect, the parameter into the regression, and then saying that, hey, I can make my y increase or decrease by switching x1 on, x2 on, or x1, x3 on. Okay? So, it's good? Yeah. It's not my job to go through the reading, so I just need you to. Okay, here are the 2 to the 4, and now rather than 1 cube, you have 2 cubes, and then one side of the cube is positive, the other side of the cube is negative. D is positive cube, D is negative cube, and then you have this 16 observations, and I give you the Excel, right? You can generate all the estimate and the effects, and then what is really important here is the plot. A increase, the performance increase. C increase, the performance increase, not as high as A jump. And here's the D, and then also you can look at the AC-AD interaction term. They are significant because they are not parallel. Okay? Now let's move to the next one. Okay, so now we have the design. Oh, and this one is basically said that sometimes, and right now, this is just for your information, okay? You don't really need to do it yet. Is if I have this cube, and then the simplest cube is just 4 corner, right? It's just a square. Sometimes we add some extra points in the middle, okay? And why we add the extra points in the middle? So we want to know that oh, by the way, if this side is +1, -1, +1, -1, +1, so what should be the code for the center point? 0? Or 0, 0?
Oh, yeah, for the center would be 0.
Yeah, 0, 0. So I'm basically add 5 more observation to the center to say that how much variation in the center. So you can think about this, okay? If the center variation is a lot, then when I said, oh, it's here, from here to here, I said the jump is 5. From here to here, the jump is 5. But then I look at the center, the variation of the center is 10. Do you believe that jump really exists? You guys follow me? Say, I'm sitting in the corner, in the center of this room, right? Right there. Okay? And then I said, let me measure where my performance right now at the center. And then I said, oh, let me measure 5 times. And then I realized 5 times the variation is about 10. So it's, from, who knows, 25 to 37 or 80. Basically, the variation in the center is 10 variation. And then now if I said that, let me move from the center to the right wall, I can have 5 increase. Moving to the front, I can have a 5. So, probably 5 or 5 square root of 2. Do you guys believe that improvement is real or not real? Let's just focus on one side. Let's say I'm standing there. I said, hey, let me move to the right wall. I can have 5 I can improve my performance by 5. Because the slope give me 5. The beta give me 5. But when I measure my performance at the center at 0, 0, 5 times, the variation is 10. Do you trust this improvement 5 exists?
No, because that's within your variation.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, hey, I said that my car, if I'm using octane 93, can improve my mileage by 5. But then when I look at my performance variation of my gas mileage, by every refilling, it's 10. Do you really believe that 5 is real? No, right? But if it's 25, move to this wall, and my variation only, within 10, I probably believe that's true, right? So that's the reason they add a center point. It's basically said, how trustworthy is this square dance? Okay, and here is just showing you how that computation is done. And when they do that, okay, they spread the variation term into the so-called pure quadratic variations. And the pure quadratic basically just said that, okay, how much variation I have in the center. And because if it's concave or convex surface for my square dance, then I know that, how much variation just at that point is going to be. And right now, how you're going to look at this is, here, let me find another picture to look at. Okay. We will have much, much better things to play with to show this later, okay? Right now, this is kind of like, I'm in a convex or concave surface, okay? How much my oscillations within the center are going to be relative to the moving to the four corner? If my center variation is, it's 10, then I don't trust when you said that, moving to the four corner will increase by 5 or decrease by 5, because your center variation is not trustworthy. So this pure quadratic term is just to show you one thing, is we would like to add some center point, and using those center point to investigate if you trust moving to the right wall to the left wall to from -1 to +1, or from -1 to +1. Okay, we need some frame of reference and say that is this jump real or not real? Okay. And more complex versions, of course, we're not going to deal with it by hand. We're going to use SAS to do it. Okay, next, let's talk about the blocking of the experiment. Okay, so here is the first example. I also give you the Excel. Here, or basically said that, hey, I have an experiment that I only have 2 by 2. So you have only one A, B, and then I run the experiment 3 times in 3 different blocks. Block 1, block 2, block 3. And by now, you guys know that you should randomize within block, right? You should investigate the baseline or A effect, B effect, or AB combined in what sequence. You should run a random number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4. So how many different ways you can run these 4 trials within one block? 4 factorial, 24 possibility, but you just use one, okay? And, just probably talk about this. It's kind of like a story. You guys want to hear a story? Real world story? 20 years ago, I have a job that investigate different satchel design for U.S. Postal Service. Because at that time, they tried to compete with UPS and FedEx. So they try to design their satchel, and there are different configuration. Some is 2 bags, one on the left, one on the right, one cross, and they need to have what they call quick release, because a lot of time when their route encounter mean dogs. They need to release their satchel, so the dogs usually will attack the satchel rather than attack them. And they will have a spread, a pepper spray to protect themselves and everything. So, and of course, we also even ask, survey how they feel about different satchel design. Okay, yeah, also a joke. The secretary typed the survey form, and one of the questions is, have you ever been attacked by dog? Asked the mailman. She had a typo. Rather than typing D-O-G, she typed G-O-D. Have you ever been attacked by God? And I didn't call it. Nobody called it. And guess what happened when we received the response back? The people still saying yes, and they give us a story. Well, anyway, what's the argument here? The argument here is that you have different satchel, different straps, different things. So the design become what? Some design was a big satchel, that padding, just like when you buy a computer bags, you have all kinds, or backpack, there are all kinds of design differences, right? So we tried this in Arizona, we tried this in northern Maine, we tried it in Seattle, California, wetland, dry land, everywhere. And what's the number one problem when we try the experiment with different factorial design like this? Even though we said we run the experiment by randomize the treatment, right? You should wear satchel 1 first or satchel 2 with different treatment. But sooner or later, people will argue that there are learning effect. So you learn from how to wear one satchel and influence your evaluation or your performance on the second or the third one. So at least for that case, when at the end, guess what we did? We exhaust every possible sequence. So rather than just say that, randomize here, we just said that, okay, we'll have 50 mailmen. They go through the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We will have another 50, 6, 5, So every possibility we exhaust in order to balance the challenge in saying that, hey, it's not fair. How come they wear, the double satchel first and we wear something different? Okay, so here I know I'm just only giving you story and lip service, but it's important when you run the experiment, make sure that you deal with the sequence. Because a lot of time you said, I got all the p-value, my sum of squares is so beautiful. But somebody come back and says that, but it's not fair. You let so-and-so wear that first. Okay, so here is the way how you deal with how to run the block 3 times. And then next, rather than dealing with the blocks 3 times, we're start saying that, what if I have an experiment I have 16 trials, but I don't have money to run all 16 in one shot, so I have to separate them in 2 blocks. And if you separate them in 2 blocks, now you need to randomize them. And when you randomize them, you basically need to find a way to say that, okay, which effect I'm going to use to separate the experiment trial 1 and trial 2. And guess which one we use in this 16 trial? We use the highest level of interaction, ABCD term. So put the notes there. So in table 76 or the slides, the block and ABCD effects are confounded. Okay? And why they're confounded? Because if of course, here we're saying that they're not significant. But if they're significant, we're saying that I don't know. Is it because of the blocking effect or because of the ABCD four-way interactions? Okay, so here we're saying that we have this confounded. Okay, young man? So, confounded usually is by intention or by accident. By design or by random effect. Who knows what will happen? Here, in this case, I'm using ABCD four-way interactions as my blocking effect to separate trial 1, block 1 and block 2. Okay? How did I decide that? No. I did it by intention because I said, I probably don't care about the ABCD effect. So I use the ABCD effect as my blocking component. ABCD is positive or ABCD is negative. Separate them into two blocks. Okay? And so it's always, our goal is to say that there's something, since I'm not so sure or, there are a lot of uncertainty involved, let me just use that and say that, hey, use that to do the mechanism. Because even I can find it, I probably won't be able to explain it. You follow me? I won't separate, how likely people will use the main effect, A effect or B effect as my blocking component? Here. How likely you think people will use A, B, C, D, the main effect as my separation component? To separate the two blocks. The main effect, to say that this is block 1, this is block 2, using positive 1A, very unlikely. Okay? How likely you think people will use two-way interaction to do the jobs? A little more likely than the main effect, but still not very likely. What about three-way interactions? Same things. Okay? So, why is this? Okay? You cook? Do you do cooking? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. When you cook, you have certain ingredient, right? You put it in. Curry, saffron, whatever, right? Okay? When you learn how to cook, you would like to know what is the, of course, the more salt you put in, the more salty. But sometimes you know that if it's too sweet, you can add a little bit of vinegar or something to change the flavor, right? So when you do that, in your recipe books, you would like to say that this thing is for A is for this, B is for this, right? And after that, you will say that, the combo of the two could do something. Or the combo of the three could do something. How likely you in your recipe books gonna write, the combo of A, B, C, D, E, when I add these 5 things together, it generates certain effect. How likely? More likely than the main effect or less likely than the main effect? You will talk about the 5-way interactions more than you talk about the main effect more. Huh? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. This thing is rare. Okay? And statistically or logically, I still would like to first know what is the main effect. Okay? Then I will know that what are the two-way or three-way interactions. Okay? When is they start recruiting for the basketball NBA players? It's coming now, right? Usually they pick them right before the season, right? Same thing, the coach, or when they try to find say they looking for a guard, they're looking for a center, okay? Usually the first things they look is what? We need a center, let's find a center. We need a guard, we find a guard, right? And then after that, they start thinking about, was all the guard or the center candidates we're looking for, who can play well with, say, center, play with our front or with our guard, because they're in the same rhythm, same pace, right? And then you talk about the two-way interactions, then you move to the three-way interaction, maybe four-way interactions, right? I don't believe any coach will say that, oh, I would like to find someone who's going to play with this, complex combinations, right? Whoever writing stuff like that, I'll say science fiction. You cannot explain the fundamental, and then you start talking about a two-way, three-way, you're lying. Okay? So what I'm saying is that whenever we're doing the confounding or blocking, usually it's by intention. Okay? And here, the third example, rather than doing the one confounded, I'm basically said that, I have two replica. The first time I confounded ABC, second time I confounded AB, and then combine them together to do something. Okay? And here is the wording explanation. Let me show you the way how it's been done in Excel. So I give you the, let me see. Should be this one. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, so I show you how to run the block, and people, you can tell even though we're talking about blocking effect, first block, second block, third block, okay? And then we have the A effect, B effect, AB interaction, okay? The writing, just different names, right? But what is the way to get those things? X, Y, X transpose X, X transpose X, X transpose X inverse, X transpose Y, you find a parameter, and then you find the effect. What I'm saying is that all the tools you need, we already learned. We just use it in a more intentionally confusing way, okay? And let me show you the other one. Okay, this is for that example, the 3 blocks. Okay, and then if I run this, and this time I'm saying that, hey, I have 16 trials, but I don't have time to do all of them. So I'm going to separate, based on A, B, C, D, and then based on A, B, C, D, I'm going to run this, but then this time I would like to find all the parameters. Okay, so X transpose X, X transpose Y, and so on. Okay, here's one thing you guys should know. Okay, I could have this like our last week, everything's A effect, B effect, A, B, C, D, A, B interaction. Remember we have how many two-way interaction for 4-factor? 6, right? How many three-way interactions? 4, right? And so if you really want to write, you still can have all the parameters. But if you have all the parameters, what will be the problems? You have no error term left. So now you can run an experiment with everything's in there. I mean, the analysis with everything's in there. And usually we call that everything's in there is called full model. And then we can run the one that only the smiley face was those big one in there. That's called reduced model. Okay? And here I'm just showing you how to run the reduced model. And if you want, just for example, say I want to have another effect called BC. Can I add a BC term in there? And if I add a BC term, I just have one more term to investigate, right? Can I have a ABD term in there? Yeah. Now, you're free to, this is your cooking pot. You can add stuff, you can reduce stuff. Okay? And for the second exam, we'll deal with the exam one first. I'm saying is later on, I will give you guys certain tricks to investigate the priority. So in other words, is that it's really not good for you to say that, oh, let me try everything. Is trials and errors in approach to be used? Well, this is question number one. System engineering. Is do nothing and options in real life? Yeah? Do nothing is in options, okay? But a lot of time, you need to show that why do nothing is a good answer, right? Right? You ask the General Eisenhower for the D-Day. He has certain criteria to say go or no go, right? And some things, if do nothing is in options, and you try to figure out all the possible combinations, is trials and errors an approach to be used? Is a smart approach to use. When you use trials and errors, what? Because you have no clue what's going on. So actually, I don't have I only have a few minutes left. Okay, pop quiz. Do you think information is important for system engineering? So if during the interview people ask you, so what is information? What will be your answer? Come on, give me a quick answer. What is information? Yeah?
Background?
Huh? Background? Okay. So foreground is now information? Huh? Anything you can use, then that's trials and errors. Measure of data for what? Getting closer.
Information relative to the project.
What?
Information relative to the project.
To do what? To do what?
To accomplish it.
To accomplish. So how you measure, the accomplishment?
With the data given. Right now.
Yeah, it's with your data. But now I have data, I have accomplishment. So what is information?
Everything you know.
Everything you know. Well, but I have everything's here. Okay, put that down, okay? Information is to reduce uncertainty. So I know something is good for something. But which one is the most certain one? Right? Here. If one of your classmates say, hey, I got a piece of info about Simon's going to put it in the exam. Here are the details. Do you believe him? Huh? Well, you need to say that where did you get that piece from, right? Right? You can say that, if he said that, I found that in Simon's trash can. He out for his microwave and then I picked that up. Then that's a little bit trustworthy, right? So information is to reduce uncertainty. You don't trust that unless it gives you some hint. So in other words, trials and errors are terrible. Every time you say that trials and errors means what? Every direction is equally good, right? But if I say that hey, going north is going to this wall is better than going that wall, there must be something from the data you collect says that you see we have less variation, more improvement going that way than going the other way. So when we do this, we basically say that there are 16, 32, 64, so many different things we can do. What are the major things that we should focus on? And that is why we're doing all this. Okay? And finally, here's the example. We're running the all the combinations for that 4 by 2 by 2 trials. And then here's the answer. Okay? Since we have exams this week, so I will cut down the homework a little more. It's due on, when's the new due date now? It's Wednesday? Thursday, yeah. Push to next Thursday, okay? It's not this Sunday. Yeah. But, well, there are costs and benefit. The benefit is, you know, you finish the homework?
Wait, the homework due tomorrow we're talking about?
The Thursday homework? Like it's due, like this week.
No, the homework already due is due. I'm saying the new one. Oh.
Wait. So the homework that's due tomorrow.
Homework 5 or 6?
The homework for the stuff I'm covered this week. That should be homework 6.
That hasn't been posted yet.
Yeah, that's not even a thing yet.
Okay.
But yes, please.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
Tears in my eyes. I thought you guys want to get homework done first. Okay. I think I'm going to stop here.